All right, Chapter 12, Capricorn Anderson. I don't think I ever would have learned to understand regular school if it hadn't been for Trigonometry and Tears, the high school soap opera. It was Sophie's favorite show. I watched it with her every day after school when I didn't have something else to do, like being under arrest. There was no TV at Garland, and it wasn't just because our generator barely had enough power to run the lights in the refrigerator. Rain said television was a vast wasteland that lowered our standards until we couldn't tell the difference between bad and good. I would never disagree with Rain, but I thought TNT was fantastic. When I watched it, everything around me seemed to disappear, and the whole world was happening on that little screen. Those people were so real, with true-to-life problems and big decisions that had to be made. I kept wishing the characters had someone like Rain to turn to in times of trouble, but they didn't. They had their parents, who were even more messed up and confused than the kids were. It was a perfect symbol of life outside of Garland. Huge, complicated, and full of hidden traps and pitfalls. Plus, every now and then, the program stops and the TV tells you about all these great things you can buy, like miracle cream that makes it scientifically impossible to get a pimple. What's he talking about? Commercials. If it hadn't been for the show, I would have been really bewildered by the huge fuss everybody was making over driving one little school bus less than 5 miles. The adults on TNT were always going bananas over something, so I wasn't surprised when the police, the superintendent, the principal, the bus company owner, and Mrs. Donnelly all took turns screaming at me. They even made Rain call from the rehab center, and gosh, it was good to hear her voice. I'm supposed to talk some sense into you, she told me, but what I really want to say is congratulations, you did the right thing. The police don't think so. Typical, she clucked, getting hung up on the numbers on your birth certificate when you probably saved a life. They made me lie on my stomach while they cupped my hands behind my back, I complained. Miggy. Hey. Yeah. I don't care. I just don't know. Maybe you should do her last. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Sorry. Okay. Does that bring back memories? She exclaimed. Every time I protested the Vietnam War, I wound up in the same position. Those were the days. So she's like, I was always getting arrested back then too. That's what she's saying. It was horrible. Don't worry, Cap, she said comfortingly. I'm getting stronger every day. In no time at all, we'll both be back to the sanity of Garland. Just the thought of it warmed me all over. Maybe we could get a stronger generator so we could watch Trigonometry and Tears there. I knew someone as smart as Rain would appreciate it if she just gave it a chance. I'd been doing Tai Chi since I was 5. Rain was my teacher. She explained that if you concentrate to the point where your mind and body become one, all outward awareness melts away. It was the first day after I drove Mr. Rodrigo to the hospital. I was halfway through my routine when there, performing the moves beside me, was that girl Naomi. I recognized her instantly. She was one of the 54 names I had managed to learn so far. So don't forget, he thinks he still needs to learn every kid's name in the school. Extend your fingers, I whispered. The energy should begin in your core and flow out through your extremities. She made the adjustments. Thanks. She turned out to be a natural, but I had to cut the workout short. Zach had scheduled another press briefing for that morning. Hard experience had taught me to leave extra time to find the room. Well, goodbye. Wait, she exclaimed. But I have to go to I know. She looked unhappy. Maybe she understood how difficult these briefings were for me. How I could never answer any of the questions, yet the reporters kept asking more and more. Cap, there's something I need to tell you. I assumed she was going to give me directions to the journalism lab. Instead, she said, watch out for Zach and Lena. Watch out for all of us. We are not as nice as we pretend to be. You're nice, I told her. You're the nice one, Cap. And she ran into the school, leaving me wondering if I would ever understand people outside Garland, or if I even wanted to try. I was a little late for the briefing because no one had heard of the journalism lab, which turned out to be just an ordinary classroom. Even more surprising, in addition to the usual reporters, Zach, Lena, and Daryl, there were at least 20 kids seated at the desks. "Where did you learn to drive a school bus?" came the first question from a dark-haired boy in the second row. "Nowhere," I said honestly. Then I realized that this could be a chance to learn some new names. "And you are?" "Trent Davidoff." I took out a small notepad and wrote it down. "I usually drive a pickup truck. That's why I had a little trouble on the corners." "How did you know Mr. Rodrigo was having a heart attack?" queried the girl next to Trent. "And your name is?" I prompted. "Caitlin Rankin." I wrote that down too. I couldn't be sure it was a heart attack, but he was lying on the floor unconscious, and that can't be good. A boy near the back spoke up. "What did the police say to you?" he added. "I'm Trevor Mardukas." I scribbled it at the bottom of the page, as I recalled the arresting officer's exact words. He said, "Keep your nose clean, or next time you're looking at juvie." "Didn't you explain about Mr. Rodrigo?" asked Caitlin. "No, I blew my nose and wiped it very carefully." Because he said, "Keep your nose clean." Zach was looking annoyed, which was odd after all. After all, these press briefings had been his idea in the first place. He raised a hand. "Is it true that you haven't even started planning the Halloween dance?" The dance again. The entire entrance foyer was taken up with a floor-to-ceiling poster about it. There was even a picture of me with a dialogue balloon coming out of my mouth saying, "Questions? Ask me." It was probably unrealistic to hope that nobody would. "Yes, it's true," I admitted. "Aren't you worried that you won't be ready when the time comes?" he persisted. "I don't know anything about parties," I said honestly. "I only know 57 people, including you guys." Luckily, the bell rang, saving me from having to answer any more questions. But as we headed into the corridor, Trent approached me. "You know, if you're looking for party music, my cousin's bar mitzvah had this DJ. The guy was amazing. Even the blue hair crowd was getting down with his hip-hop moves." I frowned. "How about the people with regular hair?" "Kids were going nuts," Trent assured me. "They loved it." I thought of something Rain once said. Back in the 60s, when Garland was a working commune, the biggest jobs went to the people who were best qualified to handle them. Why should I make decisions about a party when I've never been to one? I faced Trent. "You should look after the music." He was amazed. "You're putting me in charge of hiring the DJ?" he asked breathlessly. "Not in charge. Authority is a power trip. A community thrives when each member does what he or she is best at. Your strength is music." Trent nodded. "But how do I pay the guy?" "It's a shame that money has to enter into everything," I lamented. "Don't worry about that," Caitlin jumped in. "The school must have a budget for the dance." She turned to me. "Right?" I had absolutely no idea. Rain used cash to buy supplies in the commune, but I had never even held a dollar bill in my hand. We believed that the money-crazy mindset was a big part of what was wrong with the world. So I said what Caitlin and Trent seemed to expect to hear. "Right." I hope that was the correct answer.